Before we dive in, please like and comment. It truly helps this video reach more amazing viewers like you.
You study karate or something?
Kung Fu. Used to.
The film begins in 1986 in Okinawa, Japan, and we see Daniel go to visit his teacher Miyagi, who is training. Miyagi welcomes him and shows him drawings and pictures of his family's ancestors on the wall. He introduces Daniel to Shimbu, the first person who introduced karate arts and blended them with the family's kung fu. Miyagi tells him Shimbu's story and says that Shimbu was a fisherman long ago. One day, he was on a ship trip, and a strong storm swept his ship to China's coast. There, the Han family hosted him and taught him karate arts until he mastered them. When Shimbu returned to Japan, he shared this knowledge, and a connection between kung fu and karate formed in the family. Since then, they have preserved this connection and use it as a style in martial arts. After we learn this story, we move to the present time in China, and we see the teacher Han in his school training children in kung fu. Then, a girl comes and warns Han that the doctor is coming to the place. Han appears worried and asks her to go quickly, delay the doctor, and keep her busy so she doesn't see her son Li training. At the same time, they warn Li that his mother, Dr. Fong, is coming to the place. Li quickly runs and hides, while Han welcomes Dr. Fong, Li's mother. She tells him she respects him but knows he trains her son in secret. She doesn't want to lose her son, like she lost his older brother before. She begs him to understand her position as a mother, continues her talk, and informs him that she got a job in a New York hospital. She will take her son Li, and they will travel soon to live there. She takes her leave and goes. When Li hears this, he follows his mother, catches up with her, and is upset. He doesn't want to travel to New York and wants to stay and train in Han's school. But his mother, Dr. Fong, tells him that fighting won't benefit his life, that she has already decided to travel, and she won't back down. Indeed, Li moves with his mother to New York, and he doesn't seem excited about his new life in the city. That day, after he settles in the apartment, Li asks her permission to go buy food from a pizza restaurant he saw at the street start. He goes down, enters a pizza restaurant, and tells the owner he wants a Chinese-style stuffed pizza. The owner mocks him, but the girl Mia intervenes, apologizes to Li, and informs him that this Italian restaurant only serves Italian pizza. She helps him and guides him to another restaurant, saying he might find the Chinese food he prefers there. Li thanks her and leaves. The next day, while Li is in the subway, he sees a poster about a martial arts competition called the 5th District. He arrives at school and tries to live the new lifestyle, but still doesn't feel a sense of belonging. While returning from school, he sees Mia in front of a vegetable store, receiving goods for her restaurant. The vegetables fall from her, so Li volunteers to help her and reminds her of himself. Mia tells him she remembers him and thanks him. Li offers to carry her things and walk with her to the restaurant. She agrees, and they walk together toward a kung fu training center. Li sees the trainees inside, but Mia tells him she doesn't like this place and wants to stay away from it. Then, Macchio, the training center's owner, appears, directs his words to Mia, and tells her to deliver a message to her father, Victor, that he must pay his debt. Mia ignores him, takes Li, and they continue walking. But Macchio enters the training center and tells Conor, Mia's former boyfriend, that he just saw Mia with a new guy who took his place. Conor gets upset when he hears this and hits the trainee with him violently. Meanwhile, Mia and Li go to an electrical tools store where she wants to buy a tool, but the store's lady owner won't lower the price, and Mia can't negotiate with her. Li intervenes, speaks to the lady in Chinese, and succeeds in getting a big discount. Mia is surprised that he got this discount just by speaking Chinese, and becomes interested in learning Chinese words from him to use later for discounts. They agree to meet so he can teach her some Chinese words. The next day, Mia comes to him and takes him on a New York City tour on her bike, but the bike's engine breaks down, so they take the subway. In the subway carriage, Conor, Mia's former boyfriend, and his friends are riding by chance. Conor appears upset that Mia is spending time with Li. Mia asks him not to cause problems and to let them pass. Conor pretends he will let them pass, but suddenly he hits Li on the face, causing a bruise. Li's biggest worry is finding a way to hide the bruise so his mother doesn't see it. Mia takes him to her father, Victor, to cover it with makeup. They tell Victor that he was a former boxing champion but stopped fighting and promised his daughter Mia he wouldn't return to fighting. Despite that, he always longs for fighting and is excited about anything related to it. The next day, Dr. Fong discovers a bruise on Li's face and is upset with him because he promised her he would stay away from violence. She takes him to the library and introduces him to a respectable student named Alan to study with and become friends. That same night, in his room, Li unpacks his belongings from a box and sees a picture of his deceased older brother. He remembers when his brother trained him on the fast dragon kick. The next day, after school, Conor approaches Li, annoys him as usual, and attacks him while angry. Because Conor is a professional fighter, he lands hits and makes Li fall. Li gets up, remembers his brother's training on the fast dragon kick, and tries to execute it against Conor. Conor surprises him by knowing the move and delivers a kick that makes Li fall. The teachers come to separate them, and Conor tells Li that if he has the courage to challenge him, he should join the 5th District competition, which Conor wins every year. After that, while walking, Li sees posters for competition on the wall and takes one. But because Li promised his mother he wouldn't fight, he appears frustrated. He decides to go fix Mia's broken bike. At that time, in front of the pizza restaurant, men sent by Ashi arrive, demand Victor pay his debt, and hit him. Li intervenes and fights them to protect Victor. They hold sticks and try to hit him, but he dodges their strikes and lands hits on them. When they find him this strong, they escape. Afterward, they take Victor into the restaurant and talk. Li asks him how he fights so well, and Li tells him he trained in Chinese Kung Fu under his teacher Han. Li asks Victor about his debts, and Victor tells him he took a debt from Ashio that he can't pay. His only solution is to sell the pizza restaurant, which he loves and is dear to him, but he reveals another idea to get the money, accepting an offer to join a boxing match. The problem is he promised Mia not to return to fighting, and he hasn't trained in years, so he needs someone like Li to train him. Li apologizes and says he can't train him because he promised his mother he wouldn't fight again. Later, Dr. Fong asks Li to join her at a Chinese festival in the city. He agrees and goes with her. That night, when he returns, he calls his teacher Han and asks his opinion about Victor and whether to train him. Han tells him that if he considers Victor sincere, he must help him when he needs it. So, Li decides to train Victor, goes to the pizza restaurant, and tells him he agrees to train him. They take Victor to a storage room in a restaurant and start training. While training, Mia sees them together, gets angry, and blames her father Victor for promising not to return to fighting. Victor tells her it's just one match to pay his debt. Though Mia is upset, she can't do anything against her father's insistence and leaves Li to continue training. In the following days, Li keeps training Victor in Kung Fu styles. Li also decides to work part-time at the restaurant to stay close to Victor and continue his training. His relationship with Mia grows closer. Meanwhile, Conor passes by the restaurant, sees them together, and gets upset that they are close. Li continues training Victor until he is ready for the fight. One night, Li sees his mother sleeping on the couch, approaches her, and covers her. He looks at his deceased brother's picture, feels guilt, and goes to release his anger by hitting a boxing bag. Victor sees him hitting the bag with strength and anger, talks to him, and says he is his friend and can listen to anything Li wants to share to ease his burden. Li tells him about his brother who died, saying he was a Kung Fu champion who won many competitions. But the fighter who lost him sent men to attack him for revenge, and one stabbed him with a knife. Li froze in shock, couldn't move to help his brother as he called out, and this has affected him, making him feel guilty. Victor advises him that if he has a problem with the past, he must face and acknowledge it to heal instead of suppressing his feelings and hurting himself. Li finds this advice convincing. The next day, Mia invites Li to the San Gennaro festival, but Li says he's not free and promises to meet her there if he finds time. That night, he goes to the festival with his friend Alan and is surprised to see Mia there with Conor, looking comfortable and letting him put his hand on her shoulder. Li feels sad because he started to love her. The next day, the day of Victor's match, Mia notices Li ignoring her and tries to talk to him to understand why. Li tells her he saw her at the festival with Conor. Mia explains it's not what he thinks, saying she met Conor by chance, talked at first, but then told him she's interested in someone else and asked him to stop interfering in her life. She tells Li that the other person is him. Li is happy, feels pleased, and approaches to kiss her, but Victor sees him, interrupts, and says it's not the time. Victor goes out to the fighting ring, and we see Ashio there. We learn that Victor's opponent is affiliated with Ashio, who instructed him. Victor enters the ring, and the audience cheers because he was a former champion. The fight begins, and Victor is quick at first, but then takes several punches from the opponent. Rounds pass, and he tries to defend against the hits. Li asks him to use his agility and remember their training. Victor listens, lands many hits on his opponent, and the fight goes in his favor. But Macchio signals the opponent to hit Victor with an elbow. The opponent hits Victor with an elbow several times, and the referee doesn't intervene or penalize him. Victor faints in the ring. Mia enters the ring, scared for him, and calls Li to help, but Li freezes in place, unable to move, just like when his brother died. He is in shock. At the hospital gate, as they transfer Victor, Mia keeps calling Li to come with her because they need him, but he still can't move. We learn that Dr. Fong is the doctor treating Victor. She goes out, talks to her son Li, and yells at him for promising not to engage in fighting or violence. Before leaving, she tells him she wishes he would try to save people's lives instead of destroying them, hinting at his brother's death. In the following days, Li stays withdrawn and alone. One night, he returns home, feels a strange movement in the apartment, and knows his mother has returned from the hospital. Suddenly, someone attacks him in the dark, and an intense fight breaks out. Li tries to defend himself, and when he turns on the light, he is surprised to see it's his teacher Han. At that moment, Dr. Fong opens the door, so they quickly pretend they weren't fighting and were just chatting. Han sits with them to eat, and Dr. Fong frankly asks him why he came to New York. Han says he came to visit Li for a short visit and will leave soon, but her looks show she's not reassured or convinced. Han enters Li's room, sees a competition poster on the floor, and understands Li's state without words. He tells Li that life can sometimes deliver strong blows and knock a person down, but a person must choose to get up, continue, and not give up. He says he came to help Li when he needs it because he's his friend. The next day, they take Li to the hospital to visit Victor. When Mia sees Li, she leaves the room because she's upset with him. Li introduces his teacher Han to Victor, who says Li always talked about him. Li feels guilty because Victor must sell the restaurant to pay the debt. Victor tells him it's not his problem, and he shouldn't feel guilty since he did nothing wrong by training him. Han intervenes, promises Victor that Li will help him in his own way because friends help each other in need, and then leaves them. Han tells Li decided to train him and have him join the 5th district competition he saw on the poster. He says the competition is in 10 days, and Li must be ready. Han will leave him for 2 days to visit an old friend and return to train him. He doesn't give Li a chance to object and leaves. Han goes to the old house of his teacher, Miyagi, stands before his picture and honors him. Then Daniel appears, also visiting Miyagi. Han tells him he was looking to meet him for a long time. They sit and talk, and Han tells him that Miyagi always considered him a close friend and said multiple times that if Han needed help, he could find him and ask. That's why Han was looking for him, as his student Li needs to learn karate from him. Daniel is happy with what Miyagi said about him, but apologizes to Han, saying he can't help train Li or travel to New York as requested. Han bids him farewell, says he'll wait for him in New York, and is confident he'll come. We return to Li with his friend Alan, whose problem is that he can't find a place to train. Alan says he knows a place where Li can train and takes him to a building's roof suitable for Li's training. Li thanks him. The next day, Han wakes Li after return from his trip and orders him to prepare for training because there's no time. They go to the roof and start training, including taking off and putting on a jacket while training upside down. Han asks Li to focus and have a quick reaction. We learn that Han spoke with Dr. Fong to convince her to allow him to train her son Li, telling her that martial arts aren't violence, but help a person find themselves and help others. We follow Han continuing Li's training. During this, Daniel appears on the roof, coming as Han was confident he would. The two teachers greet each other, and Han tells Li that Daniel will train him in karate while Han trains him in kung fu. Both train Li in their own way, and funny disagreements arise between them about training methods. Li realizes that training this way will be tough due to their differences, but he knows it's in his favor and will benefit him, making him stronger. He continues training until only 4 days remain before the competition. Li brings up to Han his issue with Mia's dispute and confesses he's hesitant to reconcile with her. Han tells him that if he sees Mia as worth it, he shouldn't hesitate. Li is convinced and thinks of a way to reconcile with her. He orders a special pizza from the restaurant, and Mia delivers it on her bike to the building's roof. She's surprised at finally waiting there and appears happy with what he did. They sit and talk, and Mia tells him he doesn't have to join the competition for her father or her. Li tells her he's doing it to find meaning in his life. Mia asks if he's confident in his decision, and Li says he will be as she supports him by his side. They reconcile. We move to the competition's opening day and learn the prize is $50,000 for the winner. The fight involves two opponents facing each other, and one must score 8 points to win. Each hit counts as 1 point, but a knockout counts as 8. In the first fight, Li faces another opponent. In the first round, Li takes a hit, and a point is scored against him. His opponent thinks it'll be easy, but Li surprises him with a strong hit to his stomach and a high leg kick to his head, ending the fight with a knockout. Li wins the first fight. In the second fight, Li also wins. Meanwhile, Conor easily beats his opponent and both qualify. In the third fight, Conor wins easily and Li proves himself, qualified for the final match against Conor. The final fight is a week later atop a Manhattan skyscraper. We see Conor and Li each training in a place, with both teachers being tough on Li, hitting him in their own way and stressing that his body's reaction must be instinctive and quick. They see Daniel trying a dragon kick, and Li, curious, asks who taught him this move. Li says his deceased brother taught it to him, but unfortunately, Conor knows it. When Li tried it on him before, Conor countered with a kick and made him fall. Daniel says this is good because Li can use the move differently than Conor expects. That night, Daniel sits with Li, shows him Miyagi's special cloth headband, and says it represents a style blending karate and kung fu. He gives it to Li as a gift, and Li is very grateful. In the following days, Li tries to execute the dragon kick and pass under a spinning arm. Both teachers train him together to improve his physical fitness and agility. Li manages to execute the dragon kick and pass under the spinning arm, making him ready. On the final fight day, Li is waiting, and his mother, Dr. Fong, surprises him by entering and talking to him. Li expects what she'll say, but she surprises him, saying she's here to support him, hugs him, and says she's proud of him. This feeling is what Li needs to face the fight. He prepares with both teachers, who put Miyagi's special headband on him. Li enters the ring, and the crowd is excited. Conor enters, and they stare at each other before the fight. When Li bows to greet Conor, he's surprised that Conor doesn't bow, underestimating him. The fight starts, and Li tries to land hits on Conor, but Conor blocks him and hits Li with his leg, earning 2 points. Li attacks, but Conor lands multiple hits, one knocking Li down with the referee, giving Conor 4 points. The match favors Conor. Li gets up, receives big encouragement from the crowd, and tries to focus. He recalls his teacher's advice not to attack Conor, but to react to his hits. Li follows their instructions, lands his first hit on Conor, and scores a point. Conor, angry and nervous, attacks, but Li blocks and hits him with his leg, earning another point. Li ties with Conor in the score, and they continue fighting. Li lands consecutive hits, scores points, and needs one more to win. But Conor surprises him with a strong kick in the air, making Li fall. Li opens his eyes as the crowd encourages him to get up. Though barely able, he remembers his deceased brother and decides to endure and not give up. He rises and continues the fight. Everyone, even Conor, is amazed by his persistence. The score is tied, with 1 point left to win. Both prepare to attack, and Li decides to use the dragon kick. He charges at Conor, who, knowing the move, blocks it and raises his leg for a knockout hit. But Li surprises him, lowers his body unexpectedly, dodges a leg, and lands a low kick on Conor, making him lose balance. Li follows with a knockout kick, and Li wins. Everyone cheers for the new champion. In that moment, Conor, out of anger, tries to attack Li from behind, but Li senses him, moves quickly, flips him to the ground, and raises his hand to strike. Han firmly calls out to stop him. Despite his anger, Li hits his hand on the ground, gets up, and extends his hand to Conor. Conor bows and greets him, and everyone is happy with them. Days later, we see the opening of Victor's second restaurant branch. He invites him to the restaurant and makes a special Chinese-style stuffed pizza they love. Han sends a pizza order to Daniel's house. Daniel opens a box and finds Han wrote, "Thank you," saying if Daniel needs help someday, he can call him. Daniel is happy, and the film ends.